Welcome to my channel. My name is Gavi. I've been a photographer for over 5 years now. And here are the things I wish I knew when starting out photography. Number one, gear actually matters. And not in the way you think. Of course, master the skill first, but gear matters. And this is what I learned. First, you think that you just need a camera. Ukibuy camera utakuwa sawa. And then you buy the camera. And then you discover, for you to get certain results, you need a better light. And then you get the light. And then you discover, with those lights, you now need a modifier because the lights are giving very harsh lighting. You now need a modifier. Yeah, that's part of gear. You buy all those things, akina strobe nini, and then you discover, for me to actually shoot the way I want, my camera must be able to shoot above 320 or above 200 or above 250 shutter speed to get a certain results. My camera has to have a high speed sync. Now that is when you discover a camera that has very high speed sync is not as cheap as the one that probably you'll start with. And then you buy. And you discover there's something called high dynamic range. When you go to places with low light and high light and whatever, you discover hii camera yako ya 40K cannot be able to do certain things. So whoever is telling you gear doesn't matter, that person is lying to you. You will discover that gear actually matters. Especially if you have the skill, because lazima uacquire hiyo skill ndio ujue gear ina matter. Na sio cheap. Which brings me to point number 2. Photography is expensive. Photography is expensive. When I got into photography, an entry-level DSLR was around 40,000. So you buy that camera 40,000. After buying that, you discover you need lights. I started with speed lights. Those ones were like 8K, 30K, depending on which one you buy. Mine was 8K. Okay, and then now you discover you need a modifier. That's another 6K. And then you discover, ukienda kwa jua, you cannot use a speed light, you need a strobe. That's like 60 to 80K. Mine was 60K. And the things you need to buy over time ni mingi sana. So photography is a very expensive affair. Buying my second camera, sikuwa naona kamera ya 40 bana. Hizo za 40 hazina high dynamic range, hazina high speed sync. Inabidi uongeze pesa bwana. And that also means hata wewe as an individual, you need to start attracting clients that can pay for your gear. You cannot be shooting guys who are unlimited photos and expect to upgrade your gear. Hapo utafanya kazi mpaka udedi. Another thing I discovered that I wish I knew early is that photography is a business. For you to make money, you have to run photography as a business. You have to know how to keep your books, your taxes. Unajua kuna kazi zingine unaenda unaambiwa, tax records zako ziko aje. Hawataki ku deal na watu hawalipi ushuru. You have to know how to manage yourself. You have to know how to manage clients. Usiwe tu mtu kukasirika all the time. Lazima ujue huyu ni client aina gani na mhandolaje. Huyu ni client aina gani na mhandolaje. So when utakuwa accountant, utakuwa marketer, utakuwa msoa PR, utakuwa psychologist, utakuwa manager. You'll be all those things because you're literally functioning as a company with just one employee who is supposed to do everything. So you discover for you to make proper money, you'll need more than just photography skills. And the man hapa nje unapata photographer ni mkali, but ananga pesa, ananga clients, yani ako tu. Or probably hajui marketing, hajui kudeal na watu. So I really wish I knew that early. But over time, nimezilearn and they're really helpful zinanisaidia kugrow. And one of the biggest skill you have to have is how to get clients. Hizo zingine unaweza outsource, but huwezi outsource how to get clients. Another thing I wish I knew is learning to collaborate. Collaborating with models, collaborating with makeup artists, collaborating with event planners, collaborating with even fellow photographers. Inakusaidia kuboost profile yako, inakusaidia kufanya projects zingine at a cheaper rate. For example, I once partnered with certain location. They allowed me to shoot there for free. But the cap was, I also had to shoot for them for free. So there was an exchange. Models, sometimes nilikuwa na shoot for free. They get pictures, you get the talent. So you exchange talent. Kila mtu anafanya kazi pro bono when you're building your catalog, when you're building your portfolio. Hawezi build portfolio na kazi za kulipwa. Kujenga portfolio na kazi za kulipwa. So in the beginning, utahave kupartner na wasee, utahave collaborate na wasee, collaborate na photographers wengine inakuallow kujua industry na wakaje. Try and collaborate with guys who have gone ahead of you. They'll teach you new things. Guys who are behind you will teach you things that are coming. So collaborate na wase itakusave cost, itaku expose to new markets. Another thing, unakumbuka ile story ya gear matters? Yes, gear matters. But in the beginning, you don't have to buy everything. That's one thing I didn't know. Niko nafikiria when you're going for a shoot, equipment zote lazima zikuwe zako, you have to have bought them, nini. Later on I discovered you can hire. And in fact, before you buy an equipment, hiring fast so that you can test how it works, itakusave a lot of stress. Before you buy a lens, enda uhaya, kuna jamaa anaitwa Faris. Enda uhaya kwake. Jua hiyo lens inawakaje. Does it suit you before you buy it? Before you buy a camera. Enda haya, tumia. Jua hii camera inanisuit. There's a time I wanted to switch to Canon. I hired a Canon, a very proper Canon. Used it for a while and discovered no, I'm actually so used to Nikon that Canon itanipatia tu stress bure. Let me just stick to Nikon. So you don't have to buy everything. Lights, si lazima ubuy in the beginning. Haya. Kwa lights kwa Faris ni tao. The flip side is when you're quoting, you have to quote the cost of hiring. But pia we make sure quality yako ni fiti so that when you quote your cost ya hiring, you're also good. When you quote your cost ya hiring, the client does not doubt you. Na itakusaidia because time yenye utabai sasa equipment yako, you'll be making good money because you're so used to charging high and your clients are so used to paying you high that haikui shida. And tufuatilia hiyo, whatever you charge people in the beginning, that will be your rate. Ukicharge low, you will attract low quality clients who will stress you. Watakuja huko kubargain because they want something they cannot be able to pay for. Watakuja hapo akona budget ya 1,000 but anataka kazi ya 5,000. Juni mse ataanza kukupatia machanges mingi bana. Fanya hii, fanya ile, fanya my eyes, my tone, my what, my pin post. Demand za 5,000 na amelipa 1,000. So be careful what you charge in the beginning. I used to think that ukicharge low utattract watu wengi, utapata job mob nini, which is true by the way. But hawa watu wengi ni watu watakustress. So you'd rather charge high, attract few people who will not stress you. Na unajua pesa ni mindset. Money is mindset. Mse analipa low probably ni student, hana pesa. Ama ni mse ndio ameingia employment scene, amepata job yake ya kwanza, so still hana pesa. Reasoning yake haijafika ku reason kama millionaire. Unajua millionaire hawezi reason the same way na mtu ajaguza mita. Not tofauti. People who pay high pay for convenience. Hao nao si wakosea pia because they are very specific with what they want. They know what they want and they'll tell you. They know how to communicate that. So what you charge in the beginning itaku affect. Heri ufanye kazi bure kuliko ulipishe pesa kidogo. Pesa kidogo, I learned the hard way. You will attract very low clients because ukicharge mse let's say 1,000, ataenda mbio mse mwingine alichajiwa 1,000. Guess what? That becomes your rate. And coming out of there will be very hard because ukinunua mkate 50, kesho uambiwe the same bread ni 100. Utaenda kutafuta the same bread somewhere else because that is what you're used to paying for. So pricing, be very careful with how you price. Another thing I wish I knew is what separates most photographers is editing. However, with AI venye imekam, kila mse anaweza edit. So the playground has been leveled. So sahi it's no longer editing anymore that sets you apart. Sahi ni creativity yako and how you deal with people, how you handle clients. Hiyo sasa ndio itakuletea job. Unaweza kuwa fiti, but tabia yako ni mbaya, wewe ni mkora. Nobody will book you. Unaweza kuwa uko fiti na wewe una treat celebs different from the clients who are paying. Ole wako. Unaweza kuwa uko fiti, but hauna discipline ya time. Unaenda shoot umevaa Crocs. Unavaaje Crocs kwa shoot bana? Imagine paying somebody 100,000 for them to cover your event and then they come there with the Crocs. Surely, what is that? Photographers, we have to dress appropriately. This I'm also speaking to myself because nishaenda shoot na Crocs. You have to show up clean. You have to show up, look expensive, look like what you're being paid. Hata kama ni kuhaya suti, we haya suti bana. Kienda hapo watu waulize, no photographer, ni mgani? Because it gets to a point where people are not hiring you because you're good. They are hiring you because of status. They want to show that they are of a certain class. So editing peke yake sahi itoshi mboga. In fact sahi hata wenye wana edit less wanapata more work than was wana edit zaidi because guys don't want things that look like AI. They want things that look natural. The demand for natural look is now higher than the demand for edited. Edited mtu atachukua simu na Infinix yake aweke kwa AI yote imtolee hizo vitu akae cartoon. So mature clients hawataki kukaa cartoon, they want to look as natural as possible. Another thing I wish I knew is followers your clients. Followers are not clients. I used to see some photographers, mtu ako na 100k followers but ananga kazi. Mwingine ako na 2000 followers but ako na job, ako na wera. This is speaking into those people who think that me, I'll just go buy followers and then that's it. No, that's a waste of money. You'd rather have 1,000 followers who engage with your content than 100,000 followers who don't care about what you do. Bots, watu comment emojis, they're not helping you. In fact, they are ruining your algorithm bana. So followers does not mean clients. Likes does not mean clients. Another thing I think I discovered very late in photography is if you want to make good money in photography, you can't work alone. You can't. It will get to a point where you'll need to scale. And scaling means you'll need a team. And as an entrepreneur, you are as good as your team. So hiring a team in the beginning ni ngumu. So what can you do? Partner with other photographers. Angalia watu wengine. Wape kazi bana. Usikwe unafanya kazi yote peke yako. Selfish motherfucker. Usikwe unafanya kazi peke yako. Work na wasee. Ishi fiti na fellow photographer. Kwa groups. Enda meetups. Na ukipata kazi zingine, peana. Next time hata wao watakupea. Clients of photography ni wengi bana. Wezi wamaliza peke yako. Usiogope kupeana kazi. Peana kazi. Outsource. Kama unapata job inataka photographer na videographer, tafuta mse ameivisha video. Somebody who's really good. Pay them. Work together. Next time yeye pia akipata gig, atakuita. And that's how you grow faster. Ukifikiri uta work solo. Tafika mahali uone wewe huwezi kuwa both photographer na videographer. Kitu kama wedding, you can't shoot a wedding alone. You have to have people. In the beginning, when you don't have money to hire people on a payroll, you'll have to work with other people. Mupartner. Nupeane kazi. Mi upeana kazi bana. Nawasi nimepea kazi. Wananipea. Na nimefika point pia mi nitakuwa nauza kazi. I need to make money off my networks. You can't work alone. You need a team. A team that understands your vision. A team that understands where you're going. Unaenda wapi? And as you start getting older like me, una realize huwezi inama, and the people who make the most money are not the people shooting. Look at Ben Kiruthi. I really admire that guy. He's not the one shooting every gig, every event. Akona team. Tuna work solo. Kunanga mahali wanaenda. That also means lazima ulearn entrepreneurship. Uelewe hiyo story ya team, uelewe function ya team. Team si photographer peke yake. Who's doing your taxes? Who's doing your marketing? Who's doing your PR? Who's getting those gigs for you? Una tu peke yako. Takufa bwana. Takufa wewe. Another thing I think I discovered late is ukianza photography alone will not make you enough money to sustain yourself. You will probably need a side hustle. Here's the reality. You might go a week or 2 weeks without client. Especially when you're starting. Unaweza chapata mwezi. Je, una client. Bill hazijui umepata client ama hujapata client. Landlord hajui ulipata shoot ama ukupata shoot. Ndaka pesa yao. So at the beginning, if you can, find a side hustle. Another option is tafuta place unaweza fanya kazi wakuweke on a retainer on a monthly basis. Hata kama ni 10k, 20k, basically enough money to pay your bills. So that how stress na kutafuta clients. Because kama una clients, inaweza kupatia stress ingine noma sana. Inakuweka in a state of desperation. And as a photographer, you don't want to be in a state of desperation because you literally take anything. Utapigia mse, hello? Nataka shoot ni ngapi? Say, shoot ni 3k. Hiyo ni pesa mingi. Mimi niko na 1,000. Uko na 1,000? Sawa basi nitakufanyia tu na hiyo 1,000. Guess what they'll go to tell the next person? Alinifanyia na 1,000. And now 1,000 becomes your rate. Imagine if you're charging 1,000. How many people do you need to shoot to make 100,000? Can you manage? Lastly, photography ni journey yenye huwezi learn kila kitu in day one. Huwezi learn kila kitu in 1 year. Hata 10 years, huwezi learn kila kitu. So you have to do it consistently in order to grow. Technology na change. Tukianza ilikuwa DSLR. Sasa kuna mirrorless. Very top mirrorless. Technology. Sony walikuwa wanatupea pressure. Sasa niko ni hatari sana. Tangu wanunue Red ni wanoma. Wanatoa menje zingine ngori. Hizo ni vitu utaijua kama ufanyi. And the more you do it, the more you learn. You learn what you're good at, what you enjoy, what gives you money. You learn clients. You learn how to deal with them. Unaanza kujua mtu akasirikangi haraka kwa photography. Una chill. Inafika point, unajua watu wengi wana shoot for their fellow photographers. It gets to a point where you're confident enough, you're not shooting for fellow photographers, you're shooting for the client. Unaacha kuwa photographer, unaanza kuwa a business person. Hizo ni vitu nilikuwa na wish ningelan mapema, but nimezilan late. So wewe mwenye unaochi hii video, kama umeget hii lesson mapema, usikue mchoyo na likes. I like hii video. Inaweza nipatia encouragement ama courage ya kuendelea kucreate. Unajua hii kitu hatunaga time. Photographers wenye wanatengeneza pesa hapa nje hawana time. It's either you're shooting or you're editing. So sasa nime steal my editing time ni make hii video. So unaweza like, kama uja subscribe tuone kama inaweza kuwa tunaweza kuwa na chapa. Tuunde community. Ama namna gani? Naitwa Gavi and I wish you a successful career if you're starting out photography. Utamake dough by the way.